experience for all of you because we're so excited that you're here with us. I do want to start by offering the land acknowledgement is offered by Portland State University. Conflict resolution acknowledges that the lands on which Portland State University stand today are the historic homelands of several bands of Chinook-speaking people, including many Multnomah, Clackamas, and Woodlata Cascade villages. There are also Kalapuya nearby and the Molalla people in the Willamette Valley. Today, their descendants are primarily members of the Grand Ronde and Siletz Confederated Tribes, with Chinook and other tribal relations at Warm Springs, Yakima, and the Chinook Nation. A number of Native American individuals and groups own land in Multnomah County on modern terms. Multnomah County is unceded Indian land and, in this sense, remains contestable space. In addition to the federally recognized tribes located primarily in the state of Oregon, we acknowledge the presence of numerous unrecognized tribes and indigenous groups whose stories also demand our attention. Hi, sorry, I was doing a thing. Wait, okay. Yeah, we also, we also want to recognize, there's amazing organizations in Portland that we wanted to recognize. First Nations Performing Arts is doing unbelievable work. Portland Institute for Contemporary Art, Native Arts Cultures Foundation, and I'm really impressed with AIP, the Advancing Indigenous Performance Program at Western Arts Alliance. I've met a couple of these folks through Leilehua, and I know a bunch of us kind of, we need more Native art, Indigenous art in our eyes and ears and heart, and we're going to post links to these amazing organizations curating and supporting and finding and loving Native artists, Indigenous artists across America, across the Americas, and we love them. We want to shine some light on the work that they've done. So by the end of the day, I was supposed to do it, but I forgot. That's going to be a recurring theme in this gathering. By the end of the day, we're going to have links on our support page to those organizations. But we want to particularly highlight these organizations for fostering Indigenous artists and culture bearers. Alright, so a lot of you know what New Music Gathering is, but a lot of you also don't, and are wondering, what is this weird thing that's taking over my school? So, New Music Gathering, it's a good thing, I promise. New Music Gathering is an annual conference festival hybrid, and we're dedicated to the performance, production, promotion, and creation of new and forward-thinking music. Yes. And while we're really excited about presenting new music, we're mostly excited about community building and all of the amazing relationships that hopefully you all are taking while you're here. We started because we felt like things were a little too virtual online and we wanted to be in the same physical space with one another. Times got complicated in the past few years, but we're really excited to be back in the same room with all of you this year. We hop around to different cities every year, and we're happy to be here in Portland this year. In 2014, we started, so we're almost 10 years old. And in 2015, we did our first music gathering in San Francisco. Can you raise your hand if you were part of the very first music gathering? Me too. Great. So we have all sorts of amazing things. We have some really great headliners, like Warren Yoon, Conjure Percussion with Chris Donaldson and Recap. And Caroline Shaw. And in addition to all these headliners, everything that you're experiencing in these next few days is all from proposals that were submitted by all of you, by all of these amazing applicants. So we're so grateful for that. And we had a really amazing panel this year, including some of these groups behind me, like Lady Peppermint and Jamie Strange, and also Kamala Sankaran and Marian Donovan Thomas. So we're really grateful to that. Okay, boring stuff. A lot of you have emailed me about rehearsal spaces and times, and the structure that we had in place for that was dumb.
It was dumb, I apologize. We need some way of figuring out who's in the rooms when. PSU has really been so generous giving us all this space, all these resources, all these beautiful humans to help out. But we need to know who's in the spaces when. Since you are all honorable humans, and I know that, I'm gonna put up sign-up sheets on the doors to the rehearsal spaces that Yashin Artisan has kindly highlighted in that linked doc, so you have it both cybernetically and it's pasted by the lobby entrance. You'll come in the lobby entrance, you know, on the left, there's that multicolored spreadsheet. All of the kind of stony blue-gray rectangles, those are for practice rooms, because you're badasses, you want to be practicing all the time. Don't email me anymore, I can't take it. Please, just write your name on the door you want to use. If you're a percussionist, that's the only person who should be emailing me about rehearsal rooms anymore. I want to hear from percussionists, because you're the best, and I will help you into the percussion spaces. There are 5-octave marimbas if you need that, there's 5s if you need that. Chris White is amazing, the PSU program is unbelievable. We're having streams we can practice on. You're the only ones, everyone else, stop emailing me, sign your names on the doors. Yeah, I wanted to highlight the Sunday activity is an amazing sound walk with Kathleen Sapovi. She's a native daughter of the Pacific Northwest. That's gonna start here at 3 p.m. We're gonna meet outside, right outside this lobby entrance. We'll meet outside, but then pretty soon after 3, we are walking north. The route is in the program, they'll say that loud in case the brains want to have this. We're gonna walk up north on Broadway, go across the Broadway Bridge, and then we're gonna walk straight up north on the street. But it's in the program, so basically if you miss us here in the lobby, walk north on Broadway. Email us if you just can't find it, but I bet you will. All events are so free, just keep telling your friends. Tell your friends, because you all are making amazing music, and we just want as many people to hear it as possible. We have really sketchily figured out a live stream. Hi, live stream! So that will be archived later. I can't do everything. It's literally my laptop and like home half-ass broke interface doing this live stream. Hi to my parents. But you, if you want, can send the links of some of the events, anything that I'm able to live stream, I will. Oh, yeah, this is just, my favorite human is Yashin Artisan. He's back there. I like you all. But he's my favorite, and he is running tech in this room all day, every day, from like 9 to midnight. So I just want to do a little shout out to everyone. Be kind, like thank you, do a little pat on the back. He's just running on empty. He hasn't slept in like 2 days, and I don't know. He loves what he's doing. He loves all your music, but he's also tired. So everyone be kind to Yashin Artisan. That's all. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Lainey. Let's see. So, of course, you cannot do this alone. There is a team of 5, but we need a lot of help to make this go off. So we have some thank yous. More specifically, Portland State University, where you are right now. I think that the team knows what it's like. That might matter. We love it here. Bonnie Mitch, she's the director of the School of Music and Theater, New Music USA, sponsor, money to do this thing. So Shauna Klein is our newest friend and helper. She bumped me out of the rookie spot. Karen Miller, Anna Willette, who have been helping with tech. Sarah in the music office, who has literally opened every door. The PSU students, of course, for again allowing us to be in your space, and we're helping out as well. Kaylee Drain, Shelly Farina, and Howard Lau for volunteering and helping us out. And of course, this would be nothing without your proposals and all the music and panels and all of that. So thank you for submitting proposals. Remember to do it again. And I don't know if you noticed, but this was supposed to be in Portland in 2020. We couldn't be here in person. There was a virtual event, so we decided to come back here again this year. Again, very excited to be here. And our theme, of course, is purpose. What really drives us as artists and lovers of new music. I know I had to re-examine purpose in my art over the pandemic, so I think this is a perfect time to sort of reflect on that in our artistry and our love of new music. So, I'm turning it over to someone else.
Okay. It's my job now to introduce Caroline Shaw. You all know Caroline Shaw. She's very fabulous and very famous, so I thought I'd make this intensely personal for the things that you might not know about Caroline Shaw. Caroline Shaw finds purpose in hard-boiled eggs. I don't know if you all know this, but she highly curates the music that she uses as the timing, to cook hard-boiled eggs. Now, I hate hard-boiled eggs. Like, I can't even be in a room if they're cooking with me. And yet, I will watch every video Caroline Shaw posts of hard-boiled eggs. That's my little personal microcosm of how much purpose you give me as a music maker, as a human being. Just, I've known you decades now, and I see the effect that you have in the world just by the air vibrating around you. And that can be music, or that can be kindness, that can be listening. You're such a deep listener. When I talk, I say crap all the time. Your love of plants, your love of animals, your love of new places and people, and math, colors, hats. I could go on and on, but I find a lot of purpose watching you be in the world, loving things, making everything beautiful around you, finding beautiful people to bring into the spotlight with you. That's kind of all I got, because you all know the other things, how many fabulous ensembles she's worked with, the world that she's gone around dazzling. So I'm going to get off the stage and let the fabulous Leilehua Lanzilotti and the fabulous Caroline Shaw talk to you a little about the purpose they see in the world. Thank you.
Lady, that was so lovely. I cried a little bit already. I have known Lady for a really long time. I think I met you at first 15 or so years ago. I played viola for a quintet that she wrote called Cot. All mostly one pitch, and I remember A's. All A's. And lots of pizzicato and barato pits, and I had the best time. I really learned a lot, but also she's gone away now. I need to correct her. It's soft-boiled eggs. Yeah, soft-boiled maybe. 6 minutes and 15 seconds, ideally. So it's hopefully not the smelly hard-boiled ones. And I'll say thank you all for just being musicians and making music and coming to music gatherings. This is such a wonderful collection of people. I was here at the concert last night, and people ask me, do you ever get nervous? And I say, well, when I'm playing or writing music, it's the greatest joy of my life. I love it. I don't get nervous. But public speaking, I definitely do. I feel intense anxiety right now, but so thanks for your patience. When they asked me to be the keynote speaker, I said, please, I'm not qualified to give any pronouncements on purpose or music or what I know or what I don't know. But could I please maybe just have a conversation with someone? And Leilehua is also an old friend that I deeply love her as a human and as a musician, as a violist, and now as a maker of music in all ways. I was telling her that, and I asked her if she could consider having this conversation with me, and she agreed, and said, yes, thank you. And this is all I'll say for the moment.
Which was also a good segue, Lenny, because we literally just talked about that we should just talk about eggs for this conversation. But I think that actually makes me think a lot about when we first met. So Carol and I met in school. And what I knew about you at the time was that you had just done this cool Watson fellowship and gone all over the world and been writing, but you were in school as a violinist. I was wondering about just some of that kind of early things related to the parameters of the eight timer musics or the parameters of like structures and how that helped give you purpose and structure in like your early writing when you were doing stuff. If you don't mind talking about that a little.
Sure. Yeah, when I was in college, I was a violinist, but a secret composer, kind of a closet composer who would write in my dorm room late at night and not show it to anybody, but had things that I wanted to make. And I started making music because it helped me to listen more, and I found that after writing a little bit in my room, I'd go to rehearsal and I'd hear 10 times more things than I had heard before, because I had just been asking myself all those questions of like, you know, what goes here? Why does this happen? What happens before? What happens after? And it made me just become a better sort of performer in that way. And then the sort of asked about structure. I'll tell you a little bit about my Watson Fellowship, which was years ago now. I submitted a proposal. I want to write music about gardens. I want to think about kind of the history of like aesthetics and landscape design and why people choose to organize nature in the way that they do. And I was sort of looking at French formal gardens, which are this Versailles, really structured, symmetrical, super controlled, very contrived, but beautiful in their own way, kind of gardens. And the Italian sort of Renaissance garden and the English landscape garden, where they're sort of creating the artifice of free nature. And then the sort of home kitchen garden and the monastic garden. And weirdly, sort of 10, 15 years later, I ended up writing the piece that I really wanted to write, which was a string quartet called Plan and Elevation, which is about a garden. And in my life, I found that, earlier on, I was looking for structure in music, and so how do I fit things in? And now the gardens that I love are the weird small, my fire escape garden and my home garden, where you're just trying to see if like a Brussels sprout will grow or it's not meant to. And what happens if you let those weeds go? What's going to come up? What's that weird thing? And like the beauty of the patience, all the things that I learned in gardening kind of feed into music in a really beautiful way, but it took a really long time to get there.
Oh, that's so cool to hear you talk about that. And I was thinking on the one hand that you had this approach in that way, the kind of discovery and patience through that, and on the other hand, then I think while we were still in school, you were playing, improvising in your dance classes. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
How was that different, or how did that relate to kind of getting you to a different place of kind of playing around with letting go of structure a little bit and starting to kind of play with chance or play with finding that relationship with responding and or like doing things to get people to respond?
Yeah, that was I think playing for dance classes when I was in grad school right after as a way to make money and pay my rent and play for ballet and modern dance classes. And at the time, I just finished school and wasn't sure what my purpose was, or what I was supposed to be doing, what music I wanted to make, what musical community I had sort of like grown up in and been a part of, and what I wanted to actually see, and what I wanted to make and live in. And I would improvise for hours every day for classes, violin, viola, piano, or drums. That was terrible. Someone, it was sort of before everyone had phones where you could video everything.
There is a secret Christmas album that I have sometimes told people about. Yeah, yeah.
The thing that I really learned in playing for classes was, was kind of getting deeply in touch with my habits and things that I loved doing in music. And I always say that often in sort of academic composition, we're taught to get away from your habits. How do you destabilize what you know? How do you deconstruct this? Or pull things apart and get away from the things that you know how to do. But there's also something really beautiful about habits and digging deeper into the things that you love and things that you want to keep coming back to, sort of painting the same thing over and over again to try and find the thing that you're after. So that was part of what the classes really helped me with, but also it was the first time that I'd really seen this purposeful connection. I should do a little points every time I get started. Connection between music and dance, which is a deep origin of music for humans, and the kind of instinctive way that dancers, these were sometimes young high school dancers, sometimes they were professionals, how they would respond to maybe a slight change in harmony, a slight change in timbre or tempo or melody. It could introduce something slightly new, and it could change the way someone moves. It also helps them find their own practice. It was also music as service, which is something that is really kind of important to me. It's sort of getting away from sort of the top-down way of looking at music, let me design something that will be complex and important for this kind of thing, but actually what does this group of people in the room need right now in this moment? And how can I best serve them and make something where they're able to basically exercise, it's kind of their routine. And the real lesson, I think, one of my best lessons as a composer that I learned is that you're not the most important person in the room. You should, if you do it really well, accompanying your dance, if you do it really well, no one will really notice. No one turns and says like, wow, that was amazing. They just are doing what they need to do. And while doing that, I was able to kind of focus on improvisation and my craft and be kind of free within these pretty strict structures of dance composition. So I was pushing something from the inside.
Cool. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, but what I was thinking about was, and for those of you who don't know, that we had gotten to kind of collaborate in a new way a couple of years ago when I was, as a curator, kind of curated, I thought, to bring Vanessa Goodman to MPAC to do Graveyards and Gardens, which is this incredible collaborative work that the two of you created around dance. And initially why I was so excited about it was knowing these initial threads of your compositional interest and how you've gotten to play with those different things about gardens, about dance, and then how it was then turning into something you were doing now as a collaboration. And of course, as we all know, then things happened, the pandemic happens, and so you never got to come to MPAC, but we got this really interesting chance to support the project from afar, and I missed seeing it even more, but it was really fun to see so many times, and see the subtleties of Vanessa doing that, and now finally doing it in person again. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about just the development of that now as kind of I almost want to say more confident or more kind of confident in the space of having a space to create, or what that process was like, kind of synthesizing some of these very early inspirations for you at this stage in your compositional voice, and kind of what that process was like.
I can just say a little bit about what Graveyards and Gardens is. It's an hour-long, sort of theatrical, not a concert, not a dance piece, more kind of quasi-memorial service dance party. I developed with Vanessa Goodman, who's a dance artist based in Vancouver, and And it was the most uncomfortable thing, and also the most like wildly comfortable collaboration, where we kind of started in the room. We made sort of 1 minute of something in conversation together, and we said, "Hey, I think it's sort of like you're going to meet people here this weekend." Who's like, I think I like you. I think maybe we could make something together." And you find that spark. You're like, "Let's try." Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We got together for a couple of weeks for a residency and said, let's try to make something. We liked this first bit of what we made, which was literally 1 minute, 2 minutes long. How do we build on that and start the conversation together? And it was a long process of developing a language together, finding ways to talk about things that we love, what we're interested in, lots of yes and, yes and is a really great way to collaborate. And we started developing this piece that is kind of about thinking about the soil, what goes into it, memory, the body as an archive of experience, and sort of how do we kind of create something that pulls all the things that we know. Vanessa talks about how her body as a dancer is every person she's ever worked with, every choreographer, every dancer, every move that's ever been in her body is a part of her now, and part of her own movement and her own movement language. And the same for me, it's like every piece that I've ever played, every person I've ever met, these things become a part of you, and how do you remember them and build something new and find something new? So this things that go into the ground, what comes out. Also the idea that there's, I love compost-rich soil. The idea that it's everything that is decayed has come into it, or we have lots of plastics in our earth, unfortunately, but like this old decaying matter, all the history that we as humans also come to any project with, our traumas, our joys, our families, we bring all of that into the room. And it's kind of the side project, Graveyards and Gardens, the alternate project is Let Soil Play Its Simple Part, which is an album project I did with So Percussion, where I was thinking of letting everyone in the room, if you let the soil, let people be who they are, bring everything that they are to the room, see what happens, something will come up that never would have come up before. Let the soil play its part. So we made this piece together, which Leilehua and I were talking about. So what are you excited about? What are you working on now? What are you thinking about? And we're still performing this piece, and really, it's not a concert work. It's not a commissioned piece for orchestra. It's not important in that way. It's like a deeply meaningful, deeply introspective, hard to describe, a multimedia work but in making it, I've grown so much, and I continue to find things about myself and what I want to do, and deep purpose in that, and work like that is what I'm hoping to do more of.
Yeah, you just kind of said a little bit as a side, it's not an important, the way you said it, kind of important with a capital I, masterworks with a capital M kind of thing. And I think one of the interesting things, I hesitate to say we, because we've been doing so many cool things, and you're all over the world doing these great projects, but I feel like some of what our music shares is that we're not beholden to some of those things. Like neither of us, well, I guess you actually have a PhD in composition. It's on the way.
Tell me, it's on the way.
Yeah. But I think in terms of some of the way into composition and some of those ideas, like what we were talking about, what is actually important? What is important to us, and what does that mean? Because nobody else is necessarily inviting us into the room to do it. And what does it mean to kind of make space for that, I think is an interesting conversation around when I was looking at kind of my brain went to like defining what is actually the definitions of like difference between purpose and values and goals, and purpose being intention and determination focused, versus values, which I think we could talk a lot about in terms of like overarching values, you know, that are something that you like continue to work on, or things that are continuous throughout your life that might have, that might give you purpose, and then goals that are things that you can like check off, you know, and being a kind of starting off in composing from outside of that structure and not being beholden to some of those like check boxes. I think approaching it in a different way about purpose and about intentionality and kind of what does it mean to make space for community to let people be as they are, is I think a different approach from a lot of compositional ways in that are in an institution about kind of needing to do these certain kinds of things or have done third species counterpoint. I don't know, do you feel like since you have gone back and done a degree, did that change your thoughts about some of those things, or did you feel like you had enough kind of your own idea of what you were bringing to composition, that then when you were in the academy as a composer, that was, you were able to kind of see that as separate? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, so many things I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about. I did sort of sidestep some of the maybe institutional structures or the in compositions, or came to be a composition student in grad school a little bit later after I'd kind of been playing a lot and made some things on my own. I was thinking about, you're talking about, I've been thinking recently about purpose as something, there's like internal purpose and external purpose. There's like the thing that you're after kind of inside what you need, and there's also those external things like purpose in writing music for knowledge and for justice, and trying to find something where those things are aligned. One of the things that people say, why do you do what you do? And sometimes it's 500 reasons, different things on different days. Sometimes it's to make the thing that's inside that I want to come out, the thing that's in my head. How do I, or my heart? How do I get that out? It's like burning. How do I help other people feel the way that I feel when I listen to music? It's really where I started, and on my best days, that's what I try to do, what I want to do. But there's also the purpose of like, I want to make music as a reason to be in a room together as humans. Our short time on this earth, it is really not very long. Music is a very cool, weird thing that exists. There's a funny, and Helen Kennedy showed this SNL where there's, anyway, this is a terrible story where I tried to describe a YouTube video. I tried to describe to you a YouTube video that maybe you should just watch. Anyway, there's a character that says like, music, oh, this amazing thing, you can't touch, you can't taste, you can't smell, but it makes you feel all these things. That's really amazing, that is a really cool thing to do, so that is really a good purpose of doing it. But also there's a purpose of, I want to, when I write music, I think a lot about the players or the singers. I think about the audience too, people who chose to come to the room, people who choose to listen to music. But I think a lot about what it feels like to play things and to sing with other people, what it feels like to resonate with other people. And I want to make music where people feel included and able to be expressive within it. It's like there's room to walk around. You can be yourself. You're not sort of tied down to playing this exact note at this exact time, at this exact articulation and crescendo, but you can make it your own. And also something that feels really healthy and connective to do, where, for string quartets, I really love writing string quartets because you're so you're having this wild, it seems like a cliche, but a conversation without words, it's like a chamber music cliche, but you really are this intense communication And I want to make something that is really just fun for people to do together, which was often, I feel like maybe not talked about in the institutional compositional world. It's not, like, what does it feel like to play that, or to sing that, or to make it? What is this music doing for the people who are making it? More than what is it doing for you or for the commission or for the institution? That was a really long-ranging answer that didn't quite address anything.
No, it's,
Yeah.
I think bringing up the quartets too, brings us to what I was thinking about talking about with collaboration with Andrew Lee, who's a cellist in a tappet quartet that recorded both of your full quartet albums. Is that, you don't have secret third quartet album?
There's
Yes.
more stuff.
Yeah. So kind of new projects with also in this way that I think we see as more obvious in collaborating with a dancer or something as that's, but this was the two of you have been collaborating, composing things in a new way, in this cool way. One for a score for a movie first, and now a new kind of collaborative writing project. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that collaboration and how that's felt in terms of when you're working in a collaborative way and making space in that way, that this kind of community action, collaborating, what that means for also performing and creating community space in performing those works.
Yeah, honestly, right for the community that you want to be a part of and that you want to know and you want to cultivate, you want to grow. It's everyone in the room, every single person in the room matters. But Andrew Lee is this incredible cellist, like everybody knows who they are, I've had the privilege of watching them grow as a musician and now as a maker of music over the last several years, and I feel really lucky to have gotten to see that and to have encouraged Andrew, who hadn't really written music before we met, I don't think, but is a deeply creative person. I mean, the Taco's performances of my music, I love them because they're creative. They say like, hey, what if we did this? Yeah, great, please, it's yours now. And I had someone asked me to score a new silent film of Moby Dick. It's directed and sort of designed by Wu Song, who's an incredible artist. And I asked Wu, could I do this with Andrew Lee, who's kind of a creative partner that I deeply trust, where we'll write this together. And I don't know that Andrew had really sort of officially written anything before, and now they're writing all the time, and we're continuing to make things together. But I want to be a person, a musician in the world that encourages the creativity all around. So it's like, yes, you can do this. It might not be the path that you were handed or that you were shown before, but if there's an inkling there, follow it. And I think our sort of creative partnership and friendship over the years has been something that I really treasure. And you're going to tell us about your project with Andrew.
Oh yeah, well we're going to do some recording this summer. It's very still up in the air about exploring some different things about Mapu culture and Hawaii, and different things, but they're going to come out to Hawaii, so I'm excited about that. But we're thinking about kind of community in that way, and I wanted to say just before I move on, just that I really appreciated that about you, because I think, from the very beginning, like with a lot of us, that even with me, I remember that you were just immediately so encouraging, like before there was even anything to show you, that you had the radar for, like, oh, I can tell that you're interested in writing things, and we're so encouraging to people like me and Andrew, in a way that was really inspiring. That was really cool to kind of to have that spark, and Anyway, it meant a lot that you could be encouraging in that way. And I think finding those kinds of communities or kinds of people that to get feedback from where you're encouraging each other, is so important. It's so important to having that, to being able to try things and to being able to experiment, think of even just kind of, I like to say like recording engineers. One of the pieces that I have that that Ashley Jackson is playing project tonight. What originally there was something that I wanted to record. I needed to record 4 hours of paper lamp sounds. I was working at a university and I had access to a studio where I had to go in and say, hey, Greg, I want to come in and record 4 hours of paper lamp sounds. And the recording engineer was like, right on, let's do that. I have an exciting idea about how to mic that, And then another 4 hours of like editing through this stuff that became this like, huge, 60-minute fixed media piece and a 20-minute, piece of, and I had the idea, but I think, I'd like to think that I would have followed through with it, but kind of knowing that engineer, and, what if he had responded differently, or other people that came in, the assistant dean that would roll his eyes, or, like people that would kind of guffaw at different experimental things he wanted to do, but having this engineer, Eric Heimbegger, that was like, right on, I have a cool idea about how to make these watching paper lamps, and like my grad student that came in and improvised with me while I was in there, and having those kinds of collaborators is so important to be able to try out these weird things and to make sound and to feel like you can generate things. And having that having that from kind of before I had the clear idea of recording watching paper lamps for 4 hours, the like encouragement in general, I think is really important for being able to voice those things to the next step of kind of what's next about finding those ideas, feeling like you can even have those things voiced to say to somebody else, to ask for what you need to find other people to support you. Do you feel like you have a small community of people that you usually kind of have as people that you trust and you get feedback from, or is it more that those people are your collaborators, or how do you do that for yourself?
Yeah, trust is the big thing, finding people and making I would say small good things, that's the stuff. It's not the big thing, it's like, oh, I would make this grand piece, here it is. It's like, no, I wanted to make this, this is something I heard in my head, I want to try that. Some of my favorite things that I've made were just sort of a workshop. Also, Dash and Harrison, you are really incredible, and I really am grateful to you for everything that you do. And thank you. I don't know what we were talking about. Trust. Oh, small things. Yeah, like my favorite things I ever made are things that were not meant to be grand or meant to be big or meant even really to be public. They were meant to be a kind of small experiment. I want to hear this thing. And how do then can we try this? What if we try that? Okay, I really like that. What if it did this? All right. You sort of get there, something happens before and something that happens after. But finding people that it's okay to say, hey, I want to try this, and I'm not trying to make something big. I want to do this thing. And finding the people that are, and it's all about just finding people who might also want to listen to what's in your heart, and then you listen to what's in their heart, and you try and find each other to make something. It was really big, but it's very important.
Yeah, I think that you feel that from your music, or I feel that from your music in terms of the process that you meet people on, the experience, and even some of those things in the quartets, especially as a quartet player, will kind of shimmers of other things that go through and what it's like to kind of have those shimmers in your hands or in your mind. But I do think that, that there's a certain aspect, I don't know if you feel this way about it, but that's about kind of modeling that in a concert space, like how you as a composer are creating a generous space for a performer to engage with the music, and what that relationship is, and then how they're then modeling that to the audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can always tell if people are kind of enjoying themselves or feel comfortable doing what they're doing. And of course, I play a lot of music where it's deeply challenging, it's athletic, and but there's something I really again, it's like everyone in the room matters what they're feeling, what their day looks like really matters. Making something that is nourishing and healthy and maybe even a little bit moving for someone to play or to do, where they can share with an audience that might also possibly sense that. Of course, there are many different ways of being nourishing and moving and meaningful, but that is like a forefront of my mind in making. Why would we gather in this room to make something together? What does it mean? Who is playing it? Who are they? What did they eat for breakfast? What are they thinking about? Who's their family? How much time do they need to practice? What does their life look like outside of this piece of music, which is far less important? I always say people are more important than music. And that is a kind of guiding principle in my writing. It's sometimes in small ways, sometimes in large ways. And on my best days, I remember that. And it shapes not only the sort of technical maybe notes that I write, but also the sort of guiding principle. It keeps me going. It keeps me, it's what I love. It's what I love in music. It's, sharing something that is allowing somebody to be vulnerable on stage, creating a space for them to be that, and all the different kinds of vulnerability that exist in music.
Do you find that that's different in different genres? I know that you have worked in a lot of different genres of music, and kind of play with that and doing more things as a singer now. And does that feel like it's a part of your continued compositional voice or just musician voice, no matter what you're doing, or are there certain times when you're feeling more like, songwriting is feeling really grounding right now, or string quartet writing is feeling really grounding right now? Or how do you, in a field where I think for a while we've really over specialized, and now we're kind of pulling back from that a little bit. Do you feel like there are those differences, or do you feel like you have the space to kind of just be making sound no matter what genre it is, or does it still come with that baggage? I guess is the question.
I think I just want to live in a world where we can love the things that we love and make the music we want to make, regardless of genre is a hot topic, but yeah, regardless of what that is, we love. I often talk to young composers and say, like, well, I'm talking about this kind of music, making this kind of music here at school, but I really also sort of make this thing, I listen to this thing. I'm like, well, let's love what we love. It's really important. And how do you, navigate the baggage? Interrogate it, question it, say, what does that mean? Actually, how can I learn from that? How can I grow from that? What can it teach me? What this thing that I started to do that I don't really know much about, maybe I don't enjoy, what can I learn from that? But ultimately, love, keep exploring. And I want to keep making, I want to try new things. Like, I want to try making pop music. What does that mean? How do you write a song with these kinds of parameters, with this, with these materials? It's all about sort of like working with different materials and different kinds of spaces and audiences and communities, and each time doing something. Like I've never done a TV score, and I was lucky enough that someone asked me to do that. I'm like, well, I've never done this before. It's really restricted. It's completely exhausting and often demoralizing. But I learned it's like the only way I can learn about what that is, and T-Sports is like a big way people have to listen to music and how it shapes narrative and shapes character. The only way I can learn about that is to do it or to try it. And I used to do this when I was younger before there was Instagram, I just like made videos, put them on my website, where you're just trying to, so what would I do in this form of these materials? So ultimately for me, it's kind of a long game of like, I hope that maybe in 20 years, by doing a lot of different things, I will have learned something. And maybe I will have learned something about myself, or I will be able to make something I couldn't have made before. And I try to always kind of seek out if there's something I've never done that I may not be qualified to do. Say, hey, I would like to figure that out. I would like to see if there's something that could be meaningful and vulnerable and beautiful in there. I'd like to try it. Something small, maybe.
When we were just talking about touring a lot, do you feel like when you're touring that's an aspect of kind of reaching different audiences is a part of that, something new that you're trying out and being vulnerable with a bunch of people you don't know, or, is it different depending on which community you're performing for, or how does that relate to this kind of equation of trying new things and connecting with people in different places?
Yeah, it's kind of whiplash to perform for different, sometimes as an audience of mostly contemporary classical music fans. Sometimes it's people who really just want to hear Mozart. Sometimes it's people who have never heard any instrumental music before. It's so interesting to kind of look out. I've been trying recently to really actually look out when I sing, which is really hard to do. Because as a violinist, you don't really have to look at anybody. Kind of just
Not even the conductor.
Not even the conductor.
I'm a violist.
We should swap stories about.
I'm gonna get food out of it.
But I've been trying to kind of really look out and say I'm not making music just for this. What actually really questions is the thing that I'm doing right now, is it meaningful? Is it speaking to someone? Is it not? What does that mean? Is that okay? How do I go from this? It's also demoralizing to sing for people who are like, oh, I'd really rather not hear that. And that happens pretty often. But you just gotta keep getting up there and doing it. But to kind of travel and performing for different audiences is always a chance to kind of question what you're doing. Right now,
What are we doing?
so look out. I'm actually really afraid to look at you. I just realized that.
Yeah, it's giving a moment for the.
This is what I mean.
Oh, we got a wave. Well, I was thinking about performing on stage, my own music now versus other people's music, and the difference. I think in approach and embodiment, which I think I still get in some people's music when I play it, but there's a really big difference for me playing my own music. That's a different kind of space, and it's not that it's more correct or more right, but it just is what it is, and there's a different kind of thing that I'm just doing it with this clarity in a different way versus kind of, I remember when I used to be in music school and trying to play a Brahms sonata or something, and all of the things that are running through your head when you're doing that, and the kind of even if you play it perfectly, there's gonna be somebody else who's like, I can't believe you slowed down there, you know, like it's all about, you know, versus, you know, versus the clarity of playing your own music. And it is more vulnerable in a way, but I find it also kind of clearer for some reason. It's just like, it's not about whether or not you like this thing, like, this is what it is, you know? And I'm doing it right now, and I'm here, versus I think sometimes with older music, I have a harder time thinking about like, well, is this interpretation and the expectation of what's like, there's all of this other expectation that comes with it that's in a different space that I think gets in the way of that clarity of connecting. It's almost like people are coming with this recording in mind and they have an idea of what they're gonna hear, and then if they don't hear it, they're not happy with what they heard. Instead of coming in with a sense of expectation and curiosity, and they might still hate my piece, you know, but they're coming in with a sense of curiosity that's different than if they're going to hear, you know, the Schubert cello quintet that they've heard a million times, you know, that you can like be playing all the parts and have the second violinist missing and sing the second violin part while the rest of you are playing, you know, like that. And I don't know if, yeah, do you feel like the expectations for you can help connect with an audience, or that you feel differently about when there isn't an expectation the same way for you performing your own music, that's more difficult for you or less difficult for you? Or...
I was gonna ask you the same thing, actually, what that difference kind of is, what it feels like for you now. This is relatively new.
Yeah.
Performing your own music.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are sort of no expectations, but you hope that you have an audience that comes with some level of curiosity or trust.
Right.
Yeah. And then sort of, we were talking about the opera that you're writing and how you were, it's really beautiful. What you want to do is it's like almost that opera is part of the whole project. How do you build the community or encourage the community before the opera happens?
Yeah.
Through different kinds of workshops so that you've built that community, you've built that trust, and then the art that you share is part of that rather than here's the art and kind of hope that the community comes.
Right, and we were talking about this before. This was thinking about kind of different ways of building out community engagement around projects instead of, you know, building projects that are community engagement, or building projects with community engagement in mind first. And I use the word community engagement because I think outreach is really educational, has a lot of colonial issues too. But thinking about that with Larissa Fasthorst, who's one of the mentors for the AIP cohort that I was in, and just was the first known Native American playwright on Broadway. So this incredible run. And she was talking about projects in terms of like the community is the work, and when she's doing work now, that is the work. And I was thinking about that, building this and just thinking, what if I built this project with that first? Like, this is all the stuff that I want to happen in this. Like, all the aunties get to come hang out, there's late making workshops, free dance classes, there's everybody gets to come hang out. It's like this big diaspora party. And at the end, people get to come, like, hear my weird experimental opera. And like these aunties that never would have come to this thing are like, oh, cool, we get to go hang out, you know, like, isn't that nice? You know, like they're excited to be there because they've like built out a space that makes it so clear that that's for them, you know? And I think that's a part of that, right? It's like building that community space that makes them feel like it is for them. And I think that's maybe the difference is like in certain musics, like there's an assumption of who the music's for. When I play a Mozart string quartet, I don't do that anymore, but if I were to play a Mozart string quartet, you know, there's an assumption of what audience that's for that is going to have an assumed affiliation with it and cultural connection to it, and this kind of idea of reinforcing European ideals of like what great with a capital G, art with a capital A is. And you know, like that somebody else might come in and like anybody should be able to listen to Mozart and feel welcome, but it's also kind of, you know, are we creating the space for them? What if they clap at the wrong time? They're, you know, it's happening, which is amazing. What if they clap between every movement? Like they should, because it's awesome, but you know, are they gonna feel alienated? And what does it mean to like create the space where those people feel welcome, you know, and approaching, going back to the opera that we were talking about, like I think part of my goal in trying to create all this other stuff around it is like, a lot of people think of opera as this very European, it's kind of the pinnacle of like white supremacy art. And like, what does it mean to set up a scenario and kind of create a scenario around it that like more different communities and the communities that it's for are feeling welcome to come in and hear the thing. And it's not that one or the other is the main thing, it's like the act of having to do that, like the effort and that all around it is a part of the work, you know. Which I think is kind of what you were saying too, in terms of like, are you collaborating with the communities that you want to be working with? Like, are you like learning from different communities? Are you collaborating with different people? You know, do you think that makes a difference? Can you tell when you collaborate with different people, like who shows up, or what's in your experience, what is that in terms of communities and people showing up?
Yeah, I think it's often the people that you would like to see in the room are not there. And it differs kind of venue to venue and institution and different countries. But it's because I know that because that work has not been done by either me or by the community presenter that I'm working with. There's a lot of work to do there, and so it's really excited to hear you talk about this.
Well, experimenting with it and finding that, I think, you know, even just working with dance in like different communities that feel welcome in dance spaces, I think that's also kind of different community. How's that down the road with that? Do you feel like that's a different audience than you would normally see at a classical music concert?
Oh yeah, it's a really different audience. Yeah, and then sort of the folk audience and pop music audience is also really different. I talk to my partner about this a lot. It'd be great if everyone felt welcome and to come into different kinds of spaces, but we often kind of tuck ourselves in. This is what I know. This is what I'm used to. But how do we, again, not to use cliche, break down, you know, genre barriers, but use a language that says, hey, this is not what, I guess, kind of downplaying expectations. This is not what you need to expect. Come to this with curiosity and trust and love, but how do you build that? That's a question.
Well, I think because I actually think that might be an interesting way to kind of give all of you a call for action for the rest of the weekend also, is just kind of how do you build that? Who are you showing up for here? You know, who are you listening to? Whose work are you finding here? Who are you connecting with? And that, showing up matters.
Yeah, and maybe I find the thing that I also practice is not only curiosity, but trust and willingness and openness to things that coming to something without a sense of expectation or judgment, but like, hey, just knowing that to make music at all is a total miracle. That we're all trying to make something from whatever you call it, your heart, brain, and spirit. It's something deeply personable. It's deeply vulnerable. and that everyone who shares something in the next several days is giving a gift to all of us. And how can I come to everything with the most like love and trust and respect and openness to what someone has made and put their life into. As I always say, like, what's your ideal audience? It's like, I want to say, like, here's my heart. Here, I made something. I put everything I had into it. Please don't tear it or just drop it on the floor. This is all I ever ask. And so that's something that we can do for each other in the next few days.
Caroline Shaw.
I love you guys. And I love you guys too. And there's such amazing stuff going on. We're gonna make music while the world is ending. With Alice Temple and an amazing piano in room 225. Go over there. We got the fabulous Joey Stone Dreams installation. Go there. That's unbelievable. And he's got a big stone. That's the boiler room. When you leave, go to the right, and then the right, and then go down the stairs. And there you are. Or take the elevator if you'd rather. If I were you, here's what I do. I would take a break, use the bathroom, go to Stone Dreams, it's fabulous. Interact with and talk to Jody, who's also on top of the cycle, who's right here, and they're amazing. And then go up to 225 and find out how we're gonna make music in all the world. Thank you, Caroline!